preview. And thanks very much for joining us. Myself, Sam Turner, hosting this along with Andy Holding, who you know, of Checker fame. And Andy, in this edition, we're going to go through a number of the Cheltenham favourites in a video that we like to call Friend or Foe. And I don't know whether these are going to be your friends, some of these horses we're going to talk about, or whether they're going to be foes, but we'll find out in the fullness of time. But there's a list of 6 or 7, probably some of the warmer favourites at Cheltenham, Andy, that we're going to go through. We are recording this at the time where there's a great deal of uncertainty regarding the Gordon Elliott situation, and one of his horses does appear on the list, NY Island, which we'll get to in the fullness of time. But we'll just have to take it, I think, that his runners are going to run, maybe under a different name, maybe for different trainers or whatever, but we're going to say that they're going to be included in the markets. They're going to run as if everything was going forward as planned. But we're certainly going to start off with a Willie Mullins horse, and that's Appreciated, who's round about a 7-4 chance for the Supreme Novices Hurdle, the Curtain Raiser. You know, this is a race where there's yet to be a star truly established, but he's towards the pecking order, and I think he's pretty prominent on the figures that we keep as well.
Yeah, obviously when we're recording this 2 weeks in advance, we're predominantly trying to look at horses that are vulnerable on several fronts, really. First and foremost, obviously, we've got to, stick to our guns, if you like, with regards to speed figures, and that's what we're all about. So when you get a horse like Appreciated, who is top of our speed figures, courtesy of his victory at Leopardstown a couple of starts ago, then you don't want to be contradicting ourselves and saying he can't win. There are a couple of glaring stats which suggest that he might not necessarily be the bomb-proof favourite that he looks at the moment. One of them is that the Champion Bumper race the year before, you'd think that would be a good stepping stone. It is, but not necessarily for the Supreme Novices. Most of those horses that win that race tend to go up in distance. And I thought Appreciated to definitely go that route in the early part of the season. I actually backed him for the Ballymore myself, so I've got a nice little docket on him at 12-1 for the wrong race by the looks of it.
Well, you never say never with Willie, do you?
Well, you never do, no. I mean, if the ground was to dry out, who's to say? You know, if it was good to soften, they weren't, because he's never run on anything worse than good to. Yielding's the worst ground he's won on. So that's obviously worth bearing in mind. Because that stat for the Champion Bumper is a little bit alarming. And then you chuck into the fact that no 7-year-old has won it in recent times. Of course, he is a 7-year-old. And there are a couple of little niggly stats that just would slightly put you off at a short price favourite horse. Certainly if you're a layer, you've got plenty of horses running for you, you'd want to take him on. The horse itself, he's been around Cheltenham. He stays really well. I think he's actually incorporated a little bit more speed this year than he did the previous year. I went back and watched his Champion Bumper run last year. He got to the front and then he just looked a little bit one pace up the hill when Fernie Hollow quickened by him. But this year he's been quickening away from his rivals. He's actually been showing a nice turn of foot. I think he's got the best for. I think his Grade 1 win 2 runs ago is a better line of form and a stronger, deeper race than the race that Metier won. You look at the Metier race, the Tolworth, Shake 'em Up Harry, Pile Tapper. Both of those two have done absolutely nothing for the form. Tar Tapper got beaten, a short price favourite down in Taunton next time out. So if you look at the nuts and bolts of what they've actually beaten, Appreciated has definitely got the deeper form, plus the fact that he's been around Cheltenham. But like I said, there's lots of pros and cons. It all depends which side of the fence you sit on. Of course, Appreciated is trained by Willie Mullins, and Willie Mullins has got an unbelievable record in the race. So I'm not necessarily massive anti-Appreciated. What I am saying at the moment, at the prices, I think he'll drift. And I think on the day, a lot of firms are very, very generous in their offers. And he goes sort of 5-2 over, and yet they're betting down to sort of 5 or 6 places. You'd certainly be looking to put him in some each-way multiples because it's hard to see him not running well.
Closing multiples. I mean,
multiples, yeah.
On our figures at the moment, he hasn't got like a massive advantage over a number of other runners that might run in the race. And the likes of perhaps Ballyadam would come into the race a little bit more if the ground dried out. It might nullify, appreciate its potency. And Ballyadam, who's a strong travelling cruisy type on decent ground, that gap might narrow, mightn't it, from the last time they met?
Yeah, he's got beaten twice by Appreciate, fair and square as far as I could see. So it's going to be difficult to imagine him categorically beating it, appreciating it. But there's definitely room for improvement on better ground. I take that on board. I think the two I'd look at this very moment in time, if I was unequivocally going to take on appreciate it, would be the the Betfair Hurdle race. Soaring Glory. He fits a lot of the stats. He's a very experienced over hurdles. He's had I think 4 or 5 runs, and most of the previous winners of the Supreme had at least 4. So he ticks that box. Of course, he beat Braeman's Game, didn't he, early on in the season? So he's obviously classy. And that Betfair Hurdle has often thrown up winners or horses that run well in the Supreme.
No winners though, is there? No winner of the Betfair Hurdle gone on the Supreme?
No winners yet, but a lot of them have hit the crossbar, haven't they? Or they've been in the frame. So yeah, there's plenty of reasons to look further down the list and appreciate it at the current moment in time at the price. So if he's a friend or a foe, I'm probably on the fence with this one, because he's definitely not a foe, because if he goes out to a price I want to back him, then I think, like I say, the goalpost might be moved a little bit.
Okay. So he's a fro.
He's a fro, indeed.
Okay, well, 35 minutes later, the Arkle then, first race over fences at the Cheltenham Festival, and it's been billed as really a head-to-head between Britain and Ireland, with Shishkin in the Britain corner and Egamen in the Irish corner. Our figures sort of suggest that Shishkin's got a little bit in hand of an Egamen, but obviously an Egamen has been winning races on the bridle and not really coming off the bridle to do so could easily make up that little bit of deficit that he's got to find. Sort of 10 to 11 or slightly odds on Shishkin. Do you think that's a very fair price at the moment?
Probably for the real brave amongst you. I must admit, I wouldn't really want to be backing anything odds on. Simon Sig, Sprinter Sacra, Altior all looked absolutely bomb-proof, having a similar body of work to Shishkin, but the opposition wasn't there behind them. I think you've got at least 3 or 4 genuine quality horses that on their day could easily upset the apple cart. You can find the negative in Shishkin if you want to go deep enough. Obviously, got Cheltenham Festival form. That's great. He's trained by Nicky Henderson, who's got an amazing record in the races. I've just reeled off 3 of his stars that have won it. But he's got one stat against him, and that's that Lightning Novices Chase, which he won last time out at Doncaster. No Lightning Chase novice winner has ever won the Arkle, which is similar to the Challow Hurdle stat, isn't it? Which is glaring Braeman's Game in the face later on in the week. So you've just got to bear that in mind. They're just they're going to be broken at some stage, aren't they? And, Mitch is certainly the one of the better horses that's probably ever won the Lightning Novices Chase. You can find fault in Mullins' horse and Egamen, and the fact that he's never been at Cheltenham. I think 13 of the last 14 winners have all got Cheltenham form. And then you look at all Mankind, and he's a 5-year-old. And since this race, the parameters of this race changed in 2008. The allowances, I think it was Avoidpoor Steadies was the last 5-year-old to win it in 2008. So because he doesn't get the allowances, he's probably not that advantageously, that better off. So the front 3 in the market have all got negatives one way or the other. So there could be a bit of a shock in this one. You've got horses like Franco de Port, Captain Guinness, several other genuinely good, Grade 2, Grade 1 horses lurking perhaps to take advantage. And obviously it's going to be a truly run race, one mistake and you're out kind of thing. So I think Shishkin at the moment would definitely be in the faux category.
From a price perspective. Really.
Just from a price perspective, not on a times perspective, because I don't want to be going against the numbers, because the numbers say, look, he's the right favourite. I agree, he is. You can't price him up anything else. But would I want to back him at 10 to 11 based on 1 or 2 stats and the opposition? Probably not. Yeah,
fair enough. Good summation. Right, later on the card, then we'll obviously bypass the handicap and the Champion Hurdle. Prices for those market leaders are a little bit too big for the purposes of this feature anyway, and go straight to the Close Brothers Mares Hurdle. And Concertista, who also absolutely adores Cheltenham, sort of in and around the 11 to 10, 6 to 5 mark at the time of recording. Obviously trained by the all-conquering Willie Mullins. Honeysuckle's also in the betting at around 5 to 4, but we're pretty certain, aren't we, that surely she has to go for the Champion Hurdle and not this race again. I think Henry de Bromhead has really committed her to the Champion Hurdle. So this looks a really great opportunity for Concertista. Probably one of the stronger even money chances of the week, you'd suggest.
Probably the strongest out of the whole bunch we're going to talk about, as far as I'm concerned, Sam. I think 65 currently available top price is a gift, because Roxana is going to go World Hurdle. Honeysuckle, as you mentioned, Champion Hurdle. Dom de Company's been running over fences. The Dana Blue isn't as good as what she was 2 seasons ago. Black Tears is a player. I'd certainly respect her, and if she won well, as I'm recording today, Fairy House. I mean, she runs Cheltenham well, and she's a very good mare on a day. But then you're really having to dig deep to find anything within striking range of Concertista on form, on time figures. She's top of our figures. She loves Cheltenham. She was second in the Mares Novices a couple of years ago. She won this race last year. So there's sorry?
Pulling a cart. So it's very, very difficult to see Concertista not justifying favouritism here. I must admit, I've long thought that she's the best mare in this division anyway. I'd fancied her to beat Honeysuckle, even if Honeysuckle was in this. And I would have also been very, very keen, and I had connections, decided to go down the route of the Champion Hurdle. But obviously they don't want to be looking a gift horse in the mouth here. I think this is a real big opportunity for them. They recognise that all the big players are out. Obviously, Benedict is another one out. She comes alive in the spring, and we know Willie Mullins has got an incredible record in this race. Other than Benedict falling, I think he's had it virtually every year. Obviously, Honeysuckle won it. Was it Honeysuckle won it last year? It was Concertista won the Mares Novice. So, I mean, this is definitely a friend, Sam. Big friend of yours. You even invite her round for tea, I should imagine. You're that fond of her.
Yeah, I might even pour a glass of wine as well, Sam.
Right. Okay. Okay. So we're very much in the Concertista camp, and we roll on to the second day with the Brown Advisory Novices Chase, the old RSA, registered as the Broadway Novices Chase. Really warm favourite here, probably one of the warmest favourites of the week, and probably one of the classiest horses we're going to see on show as well. Monkfish, who has looked an absolute beast, hasn't he, on his chase performances this year. He didn't look bad over hurdles, but he's taken it to another level over fences. Yeah,
again, another one that's hard to be against in any major great way. Again, another one, 8 to 11. Would I be back in it now? I might on the day if I'm in the mood, if you like, but I'm very, very rarely bet odds on. It's not really my style to be putting up odds on shots. I'd always look for an each way alternative or a bet without the favourite, but let's just deal with him as a friend or a foe. He's definitely a friend with regards to speed figures. He's got the 2 top times on our numbers, good ones as well, some aren't they? 79 and 78. That's well above average. The winner of this race last year, Champ, clocked an 80 when he beat Henry de Bromhead's horse and Alaho in Nella Indo. So he's already there already, and the likelihood that he's going to go even faster at Cheltenham. He likes to make the run in as well, so he's going to be out of trouble. He's not a horse that's going to go and find trouble. I think 3 miles for now, he's probably as far as he wants to go. He's by Stowaway, and I was looking at some stats with Stowaway. Then a lot of Stowaways are better over 2.5. So I think going forward, Gold Cup, he's definitely within his range, but I just want to see him over a little bit further first, because he does show a lot of speed. And it was interesting that he was even more impressive over 2.5 last time, out 2.5 when he won the Flow Glass. I always thought he had latest exhibition completely in his pocket last time out, whereas the time before, I thought latest exhibition was still putting it up to him, coming to the last. So, he'd go very close to winning the Marsh Chase for me. Monkfish, such as his quality. But again, it's another race where you look at the opposition, Sam, as well. Royal Pagaille, same colours, second favourite at the moment, but $1 million to run in it. They're going to run in the Gold Cup. Big breakaway. I don't think he's good enough at the moment. Latest exhibition may or may not come over. I don't know whether they want to take him on again. Next Destination, nice horse, but again, I'm not sure whether he's quite good enough. And you've only really got Eclat de Rêve as the unknown quantity, or the one who is coming through the ranks. So none of those I've just mentioned have got time figures anywhere near Monkfish. So So yeah, this one's a bit of a boring one, really. I'd love to be able to come up with some kind of you know, wild and wonderful reasons why we should be taking on some of these. But I've long felt that this horse is unbeatable in this race, in this division. I don't see any reason to change my mind now.
No, you'd almost advise that people perhaps have a speculative Gold Cup investment for next year, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely, Sam. Yeah, because he could. I think he's got that much speed. He could easily drop back down. If it doesn't work out, then maybe they're right there next year. But I think they'll definitely treat him as a 3-mile horse unless told otherwise.
Okay, well, we're 4 in then. We're on the fence with Appreciate It. Shishkin, I think we're a little bit against perhaps at the prices. Concertista, big green tick for Concertista.
Yeah.
Fish the same. So those two in a double might be a way to play. If you see any enhanced doubles with certain bookmakers leading into the festival, you might get yourself a bit of value if Concertista goes and wins well and be in a good position with Monkfish. We then go on to the Champion Chase, leg 5 of the Friend or Foe feature, and Chacun Pour Soi, who's actually a shorter price than Monkfish, which with some firms at 4 to 6, which I know he's got that bit of X factor and a bit of star quality, but this doesn't look, this looks a race with a bit of depth in, doesn't it?
It does, Sam. Yeah, again, I'm going to make this one a foe, probably my biggest foe of the lot.
Right.
Just based on the fact he's never been round Cheltenham. I think 14 of the last 14 winners of this race have all been round Cheltenham. And he's the only one who hasn't. He's the only one who hasn't out the front ones in the market. Obviously, we know Altior. He's getting on a bit, Altior, but 11-year-olds and horses of his age have won and run well in the race before. Moscow Fly, of course, won it back in the day. He was 11. Nubi Negra, very much the young kid on the block. Very impressive when he beats Altior at Kempton. Been trained for the race, going to go there fresh, ready to run for his life. And we've seen what Dan Skelton's been doing of late. Yes. Last year's champion. Who's to say he couldn't put up a good show? Put the Kettle on, who won the Arkle. Arkle winners have got an amazing record in the Champion Chase, albeit she's a mare, and mares don't rarely run in this race. First Flow as well, we're not forgetting about him. He beat his horses fair and square at Ascot last time out. So, you took in Sco Royale as well. I mean, he hasn't got to beat a bunch of mugs here, and he's got to beat horses that bring extra dimensions and extra form lines into the table. He's used to beating the same horses over in Ireland, the likes of Notebook and
Min, yeah.
So, if I was a bookmaker, I think I've got enough reason to want to be taking him on. Again, another one that's got a lot of big numbers against his name. So we have to flag that up as well to say that we're not taking him on because he's got bad time figures. I just think it's the Cheltenham factor and the quality of opposition overwhelmingly makes him a lay at 4 to 6.
Okay. Yeah. I know Hill's a 10 to 11, which is probably a little bit more reflective of how deep the race is. But, when you're looking at the old RSA with Monkfish and what's going to beat Monkfish, it looks a case of Monkfish beating Monkfish, whereas in Chacun Pour Soi's case, there looks other horses that could possibly give him a right good race, And it's going to be run at a pretty good gallop as well with First Flow, Politologue, one or two others that like to force it, put the kettle on. One mistake, the ditch at the top of the hill might catch him out or whatever because he hasn't been over it yet, and anything could happen, couldn't it?
Absolutely, Sam. Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head. If you're a layer or you're a bookmaker, you're thinking, I'm taking this on because I genuinely think he gets beat, or kind of what have I got running for me? Have I got 5 or 6 horses who I genuinely feel as I could put it up to this horse? With Monkfish, I don't think you have. I think you are right. You're looking for a mistake, an aberration, a lack of concentration. But with Chacun Pour Soi, I think, I'm not just being, plucking names out of the hat and hoping for the best. These are all genuine quality horses I've just thrown into the hat as having good solid form behind them. They all go in there in great form as well. I'd be looking to take on Chacun Pour Soi. Yeah, I'd definitely be looking for an each way bet against him on the day.
Yes, yeah, and there looks like there'd be a decent field as well because I think 1 or 2 people certainly fancy their chances, don't they? Or are definitely going to run this year. So we're taking him on. He's a foe at the prices. He comes out very well on the figures, but as you say, he's yet to prove it at Cheltenham, and that can be a massive aspect going into that Champion Chase. A little bit later on Wednesday, fascinating bumper, really. Obviously, we're a little bit up in the air with what happens with Sir Gerard, because he races out of the Coluntra stable of Gordon Elliott. So, and Gordon's also got 3-stripe life in the race as well. So we're left with Kilcruit, who's, you know, roughly around a 6-4, 7-4 chance off the back of that Leopardstown performance, which was probably one of the more astonishing bumper performances I've seen in recent years. Admittedly, the race probably fell apart for him, but God, I mean, he wasn't that far behind. It's not as if he's come from right at the back of the field to come sweeping through. You know, he was travelling not too far off a very strong pace, and he's just gone past them like they were standing still in the closing stages.
Yeah, didn't he just? Yeah, visually the most impressive bumper win of the season. Time figure wise, not quite as good, but I think he'll have to take the end product that we awarded him with a pinch of salt, because it's quite clear he could have run a good deal faster than what we gave him. Let's say he ran to 59, but let's say he would have been pushed out or extended. He could have run to 63, 64, which puts him right up there with what we got to Gerard. It's shame Mr. Gerard didn't run. Obviously, we don't know the ins and outs of what's going to happen at the moment. And I think it would take away a huge amount of gloss, because this champion bumper, I think, potentially could be one of the races of the festival, with Kilcruit, Sir Gerard and 3-stripe life as well. He's no mug. Plus 1 or 2 others that could throw their cap into the ring. But I mean, look, it would be a shame on lots of counts. Willie Mullins against Gordon Elliott in this bumper. It's a race that they farmed in recent years, and I think they're probably genuinely bringing their 2 best horses they've probably ever brought to the champion bumper. I can't remember a better horse than Sir Gerard from Gordon Elliott's yard, and he's won it before. And obviously Kilcruit as well from Willie Mullins's. Both of them got a ton of class, great cruising speed, and they obviously have got the rest of their career before them. That, you know, they could literally be anything. So yeah, I'd have to say I'm a friend of Kilcruit. But like I said, this one's a difficult one because of you know, when we are talking about Sir Gerard being trained by Gordon Elliott, there's going to have to be a little bit of caveat with this one, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, they've won the last 4 renewals between them, haven't they? With Fayonard, Relegate, and Wyland and Fernie Hollow. Obviously, Willie's won it with Briar Hill and Champagne Fever as well. So 6 out of the last 10 renewals have gone to these 2 stables. Very strong hand again here. And I suppose there's less, if you were going to bet now, non-runner, no bet, Kilcruit at 6-4, 7-4, knowing full well that all things being equal, he runs. Over St Gerard, I mean, you know, he's going to go odds on, isn't he, Kilcruit? For some reason, Sir Gerard can't run. So,
yeah, it's just a difficult balancing act, isn't it? When you're looking at it now, thinking, well, of course you wouldn't want to take on Kilcruit if you knew Sir Gerard was going to be a non-runner, because you know he just looks he'd be a cut above the rest, but. Yeah. If a game is Sir Gerard's in, because I don't think they've got to the bottom of him yet either. And he was brilliant one last time out at Navan. On ground that he wouldn't have liked. So let's just hope that they both go, and you know, it's a race to relish.
I mean, I might be completely wide of the mark here, but they both look to me as though they could make their presence felt on the flat. Certainly Kilcruit, who's like a framed individual, really. He just looks like a flat horse. Shows the speed of one anyway.
Good show. I hadn't thought about that, but no, both, as you mentioned, have both shown the kind of qualities you'd expect of a horse, you know, over 1.5 miles, 2 miles. So who knows? You know, Shively Park with this. they might be looking for alternatives, mightn't they, further down the line?
Yeah, you could see him shipping up at Ascot somewhere, couldn't you? For sure, one of those races there. Right, on to the 3rd day then, and the final one of the Magnificent 7, the Friend or Foes. And this is Envoy Allen. Obviously, there's huge question marks about his participation at the moment. 1 or 2 people have been keen to try and lay him in and around the even money mark. And you can sort of understand why, because second in the market is Energumene, Monkfish is 3rd in the market, and then you're getting down to Shambler and Sporting John, the first 2 UK trained horses that are in the market. So, Envoy Allen, how impressed have you been this year in his 3 chase starts?
Oh, visually, Sam, he's just been immaculate. He's put up a jumping clinic every time that he's run over fences. He hasn't been put in any serious pressure. And to be fair, his time figures haven't been that great, but the horses in behind have still come out and won. We even had Home on the Lee that won the other day at Navan. He was absolutely battered by Envoy Allen at Fairyhouse. And we know what Envoy Allen's capable of doing, because we got him the fastest horse at our speed figures at last year's Cheltenham Festival with a whopping 81 when he won the Ballymore. So it's no point us thinking, oh yeah, you know, he's vulnerable and he hasn't done this, he hasn't done that, because we know that when this lad's forced to go big, he can go big. And to be honest, he might not have to in this year's renewal if he does make it. So I'm definitely a friend of him. I think he's he's going to be one of the most exciting spectacles of the week if he does run. It's going to be a shame, and I've noticed there's been good money for Emergamin. Maybe connections of Emergamin are already thinking, well, if Envoy Allen doesn't run in the Marsh, that's an easier target than taking on Shishkin in the Arkle, and all of a sudden this race, the Marsh Chase, looks a totally different representation, doesn't it? So yeah, this one's again a difficult one because you've got a short price Elliott favourite with Willie or won't he run scenario.
I think a lot of these moves as well in the market with non-runner no bet firms as well, because people know that if they end up in that race, there's no way they can be 6-7 to 1. There's no way anything can be. And I do think, I mean, the Mullins camp seem quite driven by odds. You know, if their horse is favourite for a particular race, then they tend to go for that race. You know, even if it's the easier, weaker option, and you know, obviously disappoints one or two people who'd like to see their horse go for a champion hurdle and they go for a mare's hurdle or whatever it might be. So I do wonder whether they might see a chink of weakness in Envoy Allen with everything that's going around. And like you say, prefer to take him on over 2.5 miles. I mean, don't forget, Emergamin comes from sort of like a British pointing background and a bumper background, so 2.5, might see him to better effect as well.
But don't forget that it's not 2 miles, it's 2 mile 1 at Leopardstown, but it's a very stiff 2 mile 1, isn't it? His numbers he comes out very favourably that day when he won at Leopardstown in comparison with Chacun Pour Soi, so we know he's got a bit of everything. And the rhythm of a 2 mile race would allow him just to get into a good early posse and do his own thing, really, if Envoy Allen wasn't there. But yeah, I mean, getting back to the actual question, Envoy Allen, friend or foe? Obviously friend if he runs. There's no way you could not be anything other, really, to be honest, with his overall profile and what he could be as well. And like I say, we have got that little nugget of information based on his time figure in the Ballymore that even though he hasn't done it yet over fences, when called upon, we think or believe he could easily find extra. Okay,
Andy, that's brilliant. I'll let you go and uncork the wine in case Concertista pops round. So we've discussed there Appreciate It, Shishkin, Concertista, Monkfish, Chacun Pour Soi, Kilcrook and Envoy Allen. Better not tell the wife that Concertista is your favourite female at the moment, Andy, but we'll swiftly gloss over that. And we'll look back, hopefully, and we'll be back online to discuss a nice multiple for Cheltenham. I think are you going to get 4 or perhaps even 5 horses together for a multiple?
I think 4 is usually the bet that most people ask, isn't it? They say, well, give us a lucky 15 for Cheltenham, or give us a Yankee for Cheltenham. So we'll find 4, not necessarily outside the box, but we're trying to go for a double figure each way Yankee, let's say.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, a life changer. We'll call it that, shall we?
Yeah, go on. Why not? Yeah, life changer. Yeah.
We'll call it a life changer. All right. I look forward to speaking to you in the next day or two with that then, and that'll be online on the YouTube channel. Thanks very much for joining us. Speak to you soon.
Cheers, Sam.